She didn't call, she didn't text, and now you're the one pulling back. But here's the twist. The moment she feels your energy shifting, her reaction isn't what you'd expect. She's not just sitting there unaffected. In fact, what happens next might completely change how you see her and yourself. Let's be real. Most guys think that when they stop chasing, she just moves on, that she never cared, that her silence means she's done. But the truth? That moment when you finally pull back, when she senses that you're no longer emotionally tied to her, that's when the real story begins. Women are far more intuitive than they let on, and the moment they sense that shift in your vibe, even if you say nothing, it triggers something deep. It's not always what they say, it's how they react. She didn't call, she didn't text, and now you're the one pulling back. But here's the twist. The moment she feels your energy shifting, her reaction isn't what you'd expect. She's not just sitting there unaffected. In fact, what happens next might completely change how you see her and yourself. You might think that your silence has gone unnoticed, but in reality, she feels it instantly. A woman can sense it in your tone, your responses, the way your presence used to fill a room and now suddenly doesn't. It's not about words, it's about a shift in energy. And women are extremely tuned into that. Let's be real. Most guys assume that when they stop chasing, it's game over, that she won, that she's sitting back, sipping wine with her girls, laughing at how easy it was to get rid of you. But that's not how it works. When a woman notices that you're no longer chasing her like before, when she sees that you're not reacting to her usual patterns, it does something to her emotionally. Suddenly, her world gets a little quieter. Her phone isn't buzzing as much. That ego boost you used to give her, gone. That validation she counted on, missing. And she starts to question everything. This is where it starts to mess with her head. She begins to replay your last few conversations, wondering if she missed something. She might stalk your social media, trying to figure out if you're seeing someone else, if you're happy, or if you've just disappeared into thin air. That's the power of emotional detachment. When it's real, not forced, it hits differently. Because you didn't announce it. You didn't throw a tantrum or make a dramatic exit. You just stopped showing up for her in the same way. And that leaves a void she didn't prepare for. At first, she might act like she doesn't care. That's the defense mechanism kicking in. She may post more selfies, go out more, make it seem like she's living her best life. But if you pay close attention, it's all reactive. It's her trying to prove something to herself and to you. Because deep down, she feels the shift. She starts questioning why you're not chasing, why you're not affected. And that's when the tables begin to turn. You're not the one in emotional chaos anymore. She is. Here's where it gets even more interesting. A woman who once seemed uninterested or emotionally distant will often reappear in subtle ways when she realizes you've pulled away. It won't always be direct. She might like a story you posted 3 days ago, or leave a comment on something random. Maybe she replies to your story with a laughing emoji, as if she's just being friendly. But let me tell you, it's calculated. That's her checking if she still has access, if you'll bite, if you'll come running back the moment she throws you a breadcrumb. And most guys, they fall for it. They see that one little message and think, she misses me. So they dive right back in, giving her the attention she was missing. But the moment she knows she still has that power, she backs off again. Because it was never about wanting you back. It was about making sure you never fully let go. That's why your reaction matters. The best thing you can do in that moment is stay grounded. Keep your silence. Stay in your lane. Because when you do, it forces her to confront the possibility that she actually lost you. That realization, it stings more than you know. Let me give you a real-world example. A guy named Sean had been seeing this girl for about 3 months. Things started off hot, but then she began pulling away. Less responsive, less available, more vague. So he did what most guys do. He tried harder. Planned cute dates, sent thoughtful messages, gave her space, but stayed present. Still, nothing changed. So one day, he stopped. No dramatic goodbye, no emotional text, just silence. A week later, she viewed every story he posted within minutes. 2 weeks later, she liked a post from 2 months ago, and by the third week, she messaged him, "Hey, saw this and thought of you." Sound familiar? Sean didn't reply immediately. In fact, he waited until he genuinely had something to say, and kept it short. No flirting, no validation, just polite. That small interaction with no emotional energy behind it threw her off. And guess what? She started reaching out more, calling, asking if he wanted to catch up. Suddenly she was initiating. Why? Because she felt the loss. The emotional cord had been cut, and it made her realize how much she had taken for granted. The guy who used to be emotionally available had become a mystery, and women are drawn to mystery far more than they are to availability. But not all women handle it the same way. Some women become cold or distant, even angry. They might say things like, "You've changed," or "Why are you being weird lately?" That's them trying to get a reaction. Don't mistake it for genuine emotion. When a woman throws shade or acts cold after you've pulled back, it's usually her ego reacting, not her heart. She's irritated that the game isn't working anymore, that the version of you she could control no longer exists, and deep down, that scares her. There are also women who'll try to replace you, quickly. She might start seeing someone else, posting pictures, showing off her so-called new happiness. But again, it's reactive. It's a performance. Most of the time, those rebounds are just a distraction from the uncomfortable truth, that she's bothered by your absence more than she expected. And if you stay silent long enough, the performance fades. Because when you're truly unbothered, when you stop playing the game entirely, you take away her ability to get a rise out of you. And that's when the power shifts. You have to understand something very simple but powerful. Women don't just miss your presence. They miss the version of themselves they were when you cared. That's what they want back. That feeling of being desired, of being important, of being chosen. When that disappears, it makes them feel less significant. And that's what starts the internal conflict. It's not just about you anymore. It's about how your attention made her feel. When she realizes that feeling is gone, that you're not giving it to her anymore, she starts to spiral. Now at this point, you might think she's going to reach out and confess something dramatic, maybe even admit she was wrong. But that's not how most women operate. Instead of giving you a clear, direct apology, she'll test the waters. She'll become more curious. She might start asking mutual friends about you. She might randomly pop up in places she knows you hang out at. Or she might just start engaging with your content more, hoping you'll notice. What she's really doing is trying to see if you're still emotionally open to her, without actually putting herself at risk. That's the silent game of ego and pride that plays out when your attention disappears. Here's what's crazy. Even women who didn't fully appreciate you when you were around can start missing you like crazy when your energy shifts. Why? Because most women are addicted to attention, not necessarily connection. And when the attention stops, even if they didn't want a real relationship, they feel that loss hard. It's not always about love. It's about significance. You stopped making her feel important, and that hits the ego like a punch to the chest. That's why so many women react emotionally once you stop caring. The attention was fueling something in them, and now there's nothing left but silence. And silence is loud. One guy I spoke to had been texting this girl every day for months. She wasn't even that responsive, and she'd often leave him unread. But the moment he decided to stop chasing, not to play games, but because he just got tired of the one-sided dynamic, everything changed. 3 days later, she texted him out of nowhere saying, "Hey, just wanted to check in. Haven't heard from you. Is everything okay?" On the surface, it looked innocent, but underneath it was panic, because the guy who once gave her emotional comfort had suddenly gone quiet, and that silence started to feel like rejection. And rejection is something most women don't handle well. especially if they thought they had you wrapped around their finger. This is why silence is often louder than words. When you stop trying to explain yourself, when you stop seeking validation or approval, you reclaim your emotional power. And women notice. It might not show up immediately. Sometimes it takes days, sometimes weeks, but eventually they feel it. That quiet realization that you're no longer orbiting around them creates a kind of tension they don't know how to sit with. It's like something in the atmosphere changed, and it makes them uncomfortable. She starts checking your activity. She notices you're not watching her stories anymore. She notices you didn't like that photo she posted. She sees your name missing from her notifications, and it starts eating away at her. Because as much as she wants to appear unbothered, there's a part of her that wants to know she still has your attention. When that's no longer guaranteed, she panics quietly. She doesn't always show it, but she feels it. And the more emotionally connected she was to your presence, even if she never admitted it, the more intense her reaction will be. There's also something else that happens. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, she starts comparing herself to the version of herself that you used to respond to. She starts wondering if she did something wrong. She begins reflecting, even if she doesn't say it out loud. She might think, did I push him away? Or was I too cold? Or did I underestimate him? That internal doubt is powerful. It can shake her confidence. And for women who are used to being pursued, used to having men fight for them, your detachment creates a kind of emotional dissonance that's hard to ignore. Some women will go through stages, first pretending they don't care, then subtly trying to re-engage you, then eventually confronting the situation. It might come in the form of a passive-aggressive comment like, "You've changed," or a more vulnerable message like, "I miss how things used to be." Either way, it's a reaction. A sign that your silence is doing more than your words ever did. And that's the secret. Your absence is often more powerful than your presence when it's real. When you're no longer doing things for attention or validation, but just genuinely focused on yourself, people feel that. And women, especially those who once held your attention, feel it hard. You might wonder if pulling back means you'll lose her forever. And the truth is, maybe. But the question is, does that really matter if she wasn't valuing you in the first place? Because the right woman, the one who's truly emotionally connected, won't just let you drift away. She won't wait until you disappear to show up. And if she does show up once she feels that shift, it tells you something important. Not just about how she feels, but about what your energy actually meant to her. This is why you need to stop focusing on chasing women who don't respect your value. The moment you start acting like a man who values himself, women start reacting differently. You don't even have to say a word. It's in how you carry yourself, how you stop being overly available, how you move with purpose instead of neediness. And that shift in energy is felt deeply because you're no longer in a position of lack. You're not looking for her to complete anything in you. And that creates magnetism. When she realizes that you're not just pulling back to manipulate her, but because you're genuinely moving on or focusing on yourself, that's when she feels it the most. That's when she realizes that your interest was real, but your self-respect is stronger. And no matter how confident she pretends to be, no matter how many other guys she has in her DMs, she will feel the loss, because emotional energy doesn't lie. Women may be good at pretending, but they're not immune to the emotional withdrawal of someone who used to care deeply. One of the wildest things you'll notice is how some women, when they feel that shift, don't just react emotionally. They start competing, not with you, but with the version of themselves they think you liked. She might suddenly start posting thirst traps, showing off the best parts of her life, pretending like she's living her dream reality. She's not doing it for the world. She's doing it for you. She wants you to notice what you're missing. It's her way of saying, I'm still desirable. You should still want me. But what she doesn't realize is that when a man truly loses interest, it's not because he stopped being attracted to her physically. It's because he saw something deeper missing. Maybe it was the lack of respect, the emotional games, or simply the fact that he felt taken for granted. This is why some women will try to use jealousy as a tactic. Suddenly, she's going out more. She's tagging herself in places with other guys. She's hinting that she has options. But this isn't confidence. It's insecurity dressed up in performance. Because the woman who's truly moved on doesn't need to announce it. She just lives her life. But the woman who's realizing she messed up, she'll make sure you know she's still desirable. And that's your cue, not to chase her, but to stay still. Because the moment you start reacting again, the dynamic resets. She's back in control. But when you remain unfazed, you force her to confront the one thing she's been trying to avoid, that your interest is no longer guaranteed. Here's the psychological trigger most guys don't realize they have: detachment. When you're fully locked in and focused on a woman, she knows she has your attention. But when you become indifferent, not cold, just detached, she's forced to reevaluate everything. Women crave emotional certainty, even if they don't admit it. And when that certainty disappears, especially from a guy they assumed they could keep on standby, it scrambles their internal compass. It creates confusion. It makes them rethink their choices. That's when the memories start creeping back. That's when she starts wondering if she judged too quickly, if she expected too much without giving enough. It's in those quiet moments, late at night, when she's scrolling through her phone, seeing your name no longer in her messages, that the realization truly hits. She thinks about the way you made her feel, how consistent you were, how you actually listened, how you never made her feel like an option. And now all of that is gone. That emotional support, gone. That reliable presence, gone. And not because you're punishing her, but because you finally started acting in alignment with your own value. That shift is what really breaks the illusion for her. Now, here's what you need to be careful of: not falling for the re-engagement trap. Some women, once they feel that void, will try to pull you back in just to regain control. They'll act sweet again. They'll randomly text, "I miss you," or "I was just thinking about you." It might sound genuine, and sometimes it is. But in many cases, it's a subconscious reaction to losing power. It's not love, it's control. And if you rush back into her arms without observing her actions, without seeing if anything has really changed, you'll end up in the same cycle again. That's why, when a woman realizes you've lost interest, the most powerful thing you can do is stay centered. Don't lash out, don't send bitter messages, don't try to explain yourself. Just keep your energy calm and focused. Work on yourself. Improve your life. Put that same emotional investment you were giving her into your goals, your growth, and your peace. Because the woman who truly sees your worth will find a way to show up. You won't have to guess. You won't have to decode mixed signals. And the ones who only miss you because of what you did for their ego, let them sit in that silence. Let them feel what it's like to lose access to a man who gave them emotional richness without asking for anything but honesty and effort in return. One guy I knew went completely silent after realizing he was chasing someone who gave him breadcrumbs. He didn't announce his exit. He just stopped showing up. Weeks later, she came back around, but he didn't just jump back into the same dynamic. He asked her one simple question: "What's different now?" That question alone shook her, because it made her realize this wasn't the same guy anymore. He wasn't desperate. He wasn't looking for closure. He had moved on emotionally. And unless she was ready to meet him with something real, there was no space left for her. And that's the transformation you want to go through. You want to become the man who doesn't need to chase love, because your presence is already valuable. You want to be the guy who doesn't get pulled into emotional manipulation, because your peace matters more than her validation. When you carry yourself with that kind of clarity, women notice. The right one respects it, the wrong ones fear it, but all of them react to it. Because real detachment isn't about playing hard to get, it's about not needing the game at all. What makes this even more powerful is when you stop making her the center of your emotional world. It's not that you stop caring completely. It's that your care no longer comes from a place of needing something in return. You become someone who gives freely, loves freely, but also walks away freely. And that, right there, is the rarest thing a woman will ever experience. A man who loves deeply, but refuses to tolerate disrespect, confusion, or emotional laziness. A man who has boundaries, not bitterness, standards, not desperation. And once you hit that level of emotional strength, you stop trying to be understood by someone who never really listened in the first place. You don't sit around replaying every moment, trying to find where it all went wrong. You realize something very important. A woman who truly wanted to keep you would have made it clear. She wouldn't have left you guessing. She wouldn't have tested how far she could push before you finally walked away. So when she starts reacting to your disinterest, whether it's with confusion, panic, silence, or re-engagement, you already know what it means. It means she felt your absence. It means she noticed your emotional energy leaving her world. And now she's scrambling to figure out what just happened. But you're already gone. Not physically maybe, but mentally and emotionally, you've shifted. You've moved from a place of trying to prove your worth to a place of knowing your worth. And that changes everything. When a woman sees that you're no longer investing in her the way you used to, not out of anger, but from clarity, she realizes she's no longer the prize. She realizes you've become the one with options, the one with emotional leverage, the one who doesn't flinch anymore when she pulls away, because now you're the one who let go first. And the truth is, that kind of detachment makes you more attractive than any compliment, gift, or sweet text ever could. It makes her wonder if she misread you the entire time, if maybe she underestimated you, if maybe, just maybe, you were the one she should have been chasing all along. That's the mental loop you create when you pull back your interest, not as a tactic, but because your energy deserves to go where it's respected. And trust me, when a woman sees a man who's not begging for her time, who's not chasing after her validation, and who walks in his own lane, it leaves a mark. But this is the part where many guys mess up. They get tempted to reply, tempted to reopen that door just because she showed a little regret. But let's be real. Regret is not the same as change. Feeling your absence is not the same as doing the work to earn your presence. If all it takes is a simple, "I miss you," to reel you back in, then your boundaries were never real. And she'll know that. So if she reaches out, let her prove with consistent action that she actually values what she almost lost. If she can't do that, then she was just trying to soothe her ego, not repair the relationship. There's something incredibly powerful about being the man who's hard to reach emotionally, not because you're playing games, but because you don't give your heart to just anyone anymore. You've seen what happens when you overextend yourself. You've learned the cost of being too available. And now, you move differently. You don't chase, you attract. You don't argue, you detach. You don't beg, you walk away. That calm energy you now carry, it makes her nervous. Because she doesn't know if she still has a place in your world. And that doubt, it's louder than any words you could have ever said to her. One of the coldest realizations a woman can have is knowing she had a man who cared deeply, and she pushed him away, thinking he'd always stay. But when she comes back and finds out the emotional door is now locked, that's when reality sinks in. That's when she realizes some men don't come back. Some men grow. Some men evolve. And when they leave, they don't leave with bitterness. They leave with peace. Because they finally learned that silence is sometimes the loudest response you can give. So, if you're in that space right now, maybe she pulled away. Maybe she's testing. Maybe she's pretending not to care. Do nothing. Let her wonder. Let her feel what it's like to not be prioritized by you anymore. And whatever you do, don't break your silence just to prove a point. Your absence says everything. And if she doesn't come back with clarity, effort, and consistency, then you know exactly where you stand. You've already done enough by showing up. You gave her attention, affection, care, patience. You were real. So if that wasn't enough to keep her, then it's more than enough reason to walk away with your head high. And believe this, when a woman realizes you're not waiting anymore, that you've moved on, not just in words, but in your energy, it hits harder than any goodbye ever could. It forces her to face the fact that she didn't lose just a guy. She lost a man who was ready to give her everything, if only she had been ready to receive it. Watch the next video.